Have you seen people's reaction to Taylor Swift's interview that she just did recently about her new album? Please just watch and come back. You're going to love it. You will laugh, right? Just watch this and come back. Taylor Swift has lost it, to be honest.
Okay, we have rule of show business is if it's the first week of my album release and you are saying either my name or my album title, you're helping. And art, I have a lot of respect for people's subjective opinions on art. I'm not the art police. It's like everybody is allowed to feel exactly how they want. And what our goal is as entertainers is to be a mirror. Oftentimes an album is a really, really wild way to look at yourself, right? What you're going through in your life is going to affect whether you relate to the music that I'm putting out at any given moment. And what I often love seeing my fans say is, I used to be someone who didn't relate to Reputation, and now that I've been through some other things in my life, that's my favorite album. Or I used to be a fearless girly, now I'm obsessed with Evermore. And we're doing this thing for keeps. I have such an eye on legacy when I'm making my music. I know what I made. I know I adore it. And I know that on the theme of what the showgirl is, all of this is part of it.
I tried to watch Taylor Swift's interview on Jimmy Fallon, and I lasted a couple minutes. I really, guys, I have to tell you, I did not feel this way. I'm not one of those people who has watched her release albums recently, or even the Eras tour, and my first reaction was, oh, this is crap. And then I listened to it 100 times, and I was like, this is the most amazing thing ever. I'm not one of those people. I've genuinely liked a lot of the stuff that she's put out in the last couple of years, and I've genuinely been following along and, wishing her the best. And relationship issues are hard, and, yeah, it's I get it. Something is very different right now, and I think that people need to put this into the context of the times that we are living in, and it is so obvious. The mask is slipping, and even her trying to explain how she feels about the album and how she feels about the time in her life, and it's really bizarre. And I just wish people would take a step back from some of the details of the album and understand what is happening here. And that is that she's not just aging out of pop music. She's disconnected from the very people who are supporting her, who are buying all these, God, if I see one more variant of this album or one more special 24 hours only acoustics, stop selling things. If you want to create art and you want to have art out in the world, you've done it. You have the largest fan base in the world. You don't need to keep doing this. It's like a freaking machine. And she's grinding her fans up in the machine and spitting them out. And if she doesn't realize that, whoo-hoo, good luck, because it is so obvious. And that is the thing that's turning me off. You can sing about somebody's schlong all you want. Sure, fun. Other artists do that type of stuff, but other artists do not feel like they're this capitalistic machine that is ignoring everything around them. They're in a burning room and they want to keep trying to sell you a match. Get it together.
So Taylor Swift was recently saying, Taylor Swift was recently saying that as long as you're talking about her album, whether it's good or bad, it's money in her pocket. That's not a thing anymore. Okay, so a little while ago I did a video about how Donald Trump got billions of dollars in what is called earned media. Earned media is the amount of press you get, the amount of eyeballs you get on an idea or a concept based off of something you've done to gain that media attention. Taylor Swift is a billionaire that is operating within the same industry she's operated within for the last 20 years. She has no need for earned media. All press is good press is generally a sentiment amongst people who are launching something who do not have the political or public presence to get that off the ground, to get people talking about it. That's who benefits the most from earned media. Donald Trump benefited from earned media as a billionaire because he was not within a political sphere at the time. Hillary Clinton boosting Donald Trump's political profile above his real estate profile was to center herself as the more tame choice. He garnered earned media from her. When you're already famous, when you're already operating in this sphere where you are at the top of your game or considered at the top of your game, it's not necessarily that people are talking about you that you have to consider. It's who amongst the people that are talking about you that you need to consider. Because the majority of the people that are talking that have that their voices elevated with this recent album are her own fans disappointed with her body of work, or at the very least acknowledging that she has grown out of their favor, which is a completely different ecosystem of discourse than just talking about something to talk about it. Because when the group of people talking about you have a basis in your own body of work and have enough knowledge, enough in-speak, i.e. the vocabulary they use amongst themselves to talk about you within the fandom, once that's the discourse, that's a completely different ballgame, so to speak.
So what Taylor Swift told all of us in that Zayn interview is that she does not care if you care about her lyricism or artistry. She is a businessman. It wouldn't be such a gross thing for her to be like, I just want the money. I just want people to talk about me so people buy my stuff and stream my album. If she was like some up and coming artist or someone who was from the mean streets of Texas or Nashville, whatever, somewhere where she was needing the money, but she's like a billionaire. She's a billionaire. She has a private jet that is polluting the skies so she can jet set from New York with her other fellow canceled girl boss friends and things. And she's sitting there in this interview. Basically, I don't want to call it saying that she was doubling down. I did a previous video where I talked about the fact that I did feel like people were kind of piling on and kind of making it so that she was this lone example of some out of touch billionaire, when in reality many of these artists are out of touch. Many of these artists are kind of playing relatable and they're not really relatable, and some just aren't very good at masking it, like Taylor and Katy Perry, just to have her catch a stray as well. I honestly didn't think she was going to give an interview. I'm actually surprised that she sat down, but then again, the corporate media, has been softballing her for some time now. It doesn't seem like there's any allowance for bad reviews of this album, and I can't be too surprised that she did an interview where she got very softball questions. If anything, it sounds like, as someone who works in media, it sounds like, the agreement might have been, the idea that, sure, I'll do this interview if you let me have this platform to say what I need or want to say in terms of the backlash that this album is getting. You get an interview, but no really tough pushback questions. And, a lot of them happily oblige. No sort of shade to Zayn. But, I'm not too surprised that she doubled down, or more so backtracked. I feel like she backtracked because I could have sworn that in previous interviews, particularly on her boyfriend's podcast, or fiance or whatever he is to her podcast, she said that this was an album that she had always been wanting to make, that this was deeply personal to her, blah, yada, yada. And now it seems like, from what she was saying in the Zayn interview, it sounds like she's saying that this is a character and this is satire and this is meant to be kind of, absurd and whatnot. And I'm not buying it. She thought there was going to be a different kind of reaction, and instead of it now being allowed to be something personal to her, she's now making it so this was some character that is not me. There's nothing associated with me, which is kind of hard to believe, because a lot of the things that people were getting on about the album, her throwing shade at Travis's exes, her throwing shade at Charlie X, her throwing shade at Olivia and others, and the whole canceled friends thing, given some of the people she's friends with, seem very much a Taylor thing, unless she created a character that is pretty much like her. Instead of her standing 10 toes down and being like, yeah, maybe not everyone's gonna agree, but it came from the heart, she instead said, and I quote, I had to write this down and post it. It's the first week of my album release, and if you are saying my name or the name of the album title, you are helping. So she basically went the route of any media is good media, and it's the idea that the more people that talk about it, the more, attention that it gets. But it's also kind of, that doesn't really work when you're already successful. That doesn't really work when you're already a billionaire who has a lot of money already. Like, you don't need the streams necessarily. We know this wasn't going to be a flop. You are who you are. You have a legion of fans. This was never going to be a flop money wise. So it's not money that you need, right? That's not where it's at. You don't need the money. If anything, at this point, you're doing it for the acclaim. You didn't have to put out this album. You aren't, needing some extra money for the wedding or something. So at this point, you did it for your ego. You did it for the attention, and hopefully, I'm thinking, the good attention. So it doesn't really seem genuine to then say, oh, well, it's just about people buying it. That's gross. And just look at all the different versions of this album that exists. Oh my gosh. Yes, this is someone who definitely wanted more money, but at the same time, knowing what we know about her, she does care about what people think. She does want to be, I don't want to say the cool girl. Maybe that's how she was with Matt, but she doesn't want to look like the person losing in a situation. So I find it hard to believe that she is taking the idea, like she said, the art police. Like, she's not trying to be the art police, but she also wants to talk about Taylor Swift's album. Yes. I don't really believe that she's okay with the fact that this didn't get the kind of good attention from not only naysayers, but her fellow fans. Like, this isn't just haters who were going to hate on the album no matter what because they hated all the albums before this. These are also fans who are saying, what is this? I've liked some of those songs and albums that she's had. I even wrote a review of her documentary, Miss Americana. And it was a good review. I actually liked that documentary because I thought she was on a trajectory that was very different from what this album is and the vibes that she is giving right now. I think, if anything, she probably should have just stayed silent.
The first rule of show business is if it's the first week of my album release and you're saying either my name or my album, you're helping. I win. That's right, dummy. I win. Art is subjective. Okay, so everyone's entitled to their bad opinion, and those they can all change over time. For example, someone once came up to me and said that they didn't like Fearless, but then a grain silo fell and hit them on the head, and now they're an Evermore girly. Maybe they didn't connect to Reputation, but then they accidentally dropped a slur in the group chat. And now we see eye to eye, huh? Yeah, you forget that I have an eye on my legacy here, just like Alexander Hamilton. All this was part of my plan. Cause baby, I'm a mastermind, or however it goes.
You guys do realize that when you talk about me and my songs and how terrible they are, that's actually good. Starting now after this interview, anybody that says anything bad about my album actually likes me a lot and actually is my biggest fan. This is me. Hey guys, look. I'm counting I'm counting the money that I'm making from this bad publicity because that's actually good for me. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's actually good for me. Little do they realize I'm rubber, they're glue. So when they say, hey, your songs sound like they're made by AI and there's no soul in them and you're just copying other artists that actually have talent and you layer over 4,000 versions of the same line onto each other and you condense them and compress them into one single line that's not even like music anymore, it bounces off of me and sticks to them. Look, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 million, 6 million. Keep it up, guys. No, keep it up. La la la. Can't hear you. Ha. Can't hear you. I can. and it's good for me because that's actually good that it's actually I'm actually benefiting from you guys doing this. But no, I can't hear I don't see any of that at all or hear it at all.
The rule of show business is if it's the first week of my album release and you are saying either my name or my album title, you're helping.
Talking about the rules of show business, the rules of football is that you can't hide extra thigh pads in your cheeks for Travis Kelce. It looks like you're using Botox and filler. All your videos before you took them down were marked for AI. Put 20 versions of the same album out, and one of them says Sweat and Vanilla. Bitch, get a clue. Somebody let me know when she releases the credited artist edition. You release the album with clear racial undertones and a lot of microaggression, but your first response to everybody not liking it is, if you're talking about it in the first 12 hours it's releasing, you're helping. Girl, they're not helping you sell nothing but that dominant crested racist agenda. But you talking about what artists put out of themselves is supposed to be a mirror. Let's mirror why it's so hot outside and your ass done ruin the atmosphere flying in that private jet circulating the equator all them fucking times. You don't be going nowhere but to get some stinky dick to make a song about on that banjo. You're over there talking about we're doing this for keeps. It's so camp. Bitch, this is not camp. This is camp without the fire. You're talking about all this art and creativity. I think you done ran out of it. You're over here making songs about another man's ex. Bitch, did you date Kayla Nicole? No, but you over here using all these demographical stereotypical things to shade her. Legacy this, legacy that. This bitch is a singing woman. All she do is sell, which is fine. I'm not taking that away from her. She gets money. Go ahead, group it up. But the vocals are just not given, and they haven't been given for me for a long time. You worried about what Charlie XCX putting up her nose, but your ass is so high off that ego, you don't know what the fuck you talk about. Talk about, I know what I put out, yeah, because you probably typed it in a prompt. That shit sounds and looks like AI. I don't know, y'all let me know how you feel about this Taylor P. Swift album, and the P is for printer and facts, because this bitch done copied and pasted half the ideas on this album.
I was gonna I'm not a bad bitch, this isn't savage. I was gonna let that go. I was gonna let that one roll off my back. No, this isn't about the song that changed my life, the song where Beyonce delivered arguably the best remix of all time, Grammy award-winning Savage. No, Taylor wouldn't do that until yesterday. My co-host Sequoia told me that Travis Kelce asked out Meg Thee Stallion and she denied him. What's happening? Sorry, I had to, but and that Travis Kelce has only dated black women before Taylor, which I didn't know. So the subtext is hinting at, I'm not a black baddie, but I'm still your girl. And I think that sentiment could be fine if it's coming from a place of black women are dominating right now, especially in the music industry, and if she also shows her support for other black artists and black women in her orbit. But if you're saying that line and it is fueling bullying of Travis's ex, Kayla, who is black, that's not kosher in my book. Change the lyric. Like, don't include that lyric. It's not a good fucking lyric either. So what is the intention there? Like, we as fans, as an audience, are allowed to hold you accountable and ask that you show us what your intentions are through your actions, through what you're outspoken about.
So a lot of people hate Taylor Swift's new album. They're like, she can't keep getting away with this, these lame lyrics. Like, it sounds like, my hair is blonde, my boy, he plays football on the team. Everyone's like, she sucks, like she really sucks. And so I was like, let me listen to this, because maybe the album does suck. Like, if this many people are saying that she sucks and the album sucks, like maybe she sucks. So I listened to it banger after banger. It actually spoke to me. I was like, am I a Swiftie now? Wait, what? But you know what? The reason why you didn't like it, if you didn't like it, is because you're probably not lame. You're probably not lame. I'm lame. I grew up in the suburbs, English nerd. I got every single question right on the English and the reading section of the ACT. 36, every question right. I was a nerd. You know what Taylor Swift is? A suburban English nerd. And I loved it. My other friend, she does OnlyFans and is a stripper, and she was like, I can't even imagine anyone listening to this music. It's so lame, it's so garbage. Like, of course it is. You be shaking ass, popping pussy. Yeah, this music isn't for you. You're not the demographic. You're not the demographic. I don't be shaking no ass. I can't. I'm lame. I'm lame. That lyric, that I'm not a bad bitch and this isn't savage and I'm never gonna let you down. People were roasting that. That's so lame. In that Eldest Daughter song, guys, I cried. I literally shed a tear because I'm not a bad bitch. And this isn't savage. and I'm never gonna let you down. And I am the eldest daughter who was raised for the slaughter. Like, it's just, she speaks to some of us. She's relatable, she's hopeless romantic, she's never tried to be cool. I'm not cool. I've never been cool. Let us have our lame pop star. Let us have a lame pop star. Why can't she write childish lyrics? And also, they weren't that bad. Like, they were actually good. Like, a lot of people write dumb lyrics. Tate McRae be like, I'ma ride your dick like a sports car. Like, people, like, when did music become all about having this, like, Kendrick Lamar lyricism? Like, it's just pop music. It's not that serious. Like, let us have our lame pop star.
So in Taylor Swift's response to criticism of her album, she says, you know, what you're going through in life, that's going to affect whether or not you relate to the music she's releasing at any given time. Okay, let's accept that premise. When she says, you know, gonna have the whole block looking like you, talking about her white football husband, Travis Kelce, who's supposed to relate to that? He says, you know, like, I'm not a bad B word, I'm not a savage, and is obviously throwing shade at Kelsey's black ex-girlfriends. Who's supposed to relate to that? I would have had so much more respect for her if she had just walked it back. Girl, just say that, it wasn't your intention, that you're just, in love with this guy, and you're not trying to be playing into a lot of the conservative talking points and rhetoric going on right now. That's not what she said. That's not what she said, and she is a smart, savvy businesswoman, and so I'm thinking that's on purpose. She is not trying to alienate the fans who are defending her and saying that these lyrics are innocent. For a former fan like me, and I would be streaming Cruel Summer a lot. I'm really disappointed. She's playing into a lot of problematic rhetoric in the same way that Sydney Sweetie was with the American Eagle ad, but she's just doing it in a smarter way, in a more insidious and layered way, so that the criticism can be more easily dismissed.
If that orange man in office didn't get to you first, it was because Taylor Swift already had. Allowing and accepting Taylor Swift's entire brand and identity to simply be a white woman is the reason why that album sounds the way it does. She has been able to overstay her welcome in the conversation of authenticity and artistry because Kanye West gave her a gateway to making mediocrity mainstream and making victimhood profitable because she is a vessel for white women to be unapologetically white. Kanye gave that woman an open lane to be a grandeur of victimhood, and she has been working to make it her brand ever since that fateful day in 2009. Despite black women being lied on, targeted, mocked, disrespected, even brutalized since the dawn of time within the music industry, and being scorned left and right, they don't have the ability to make themselves the victim as their brand, even if they quite literally are. Somehow, a candle nor critique can be held to Miss Swift, and it created this island within the music industry along with 3 albums worth of baseline and sometimes subpar writing, also accompanied by people in her stands reminding us that it doesn't actually matter because Evermore and folklore exists, so we can't judge that hard. Hypocritical and contradictory ideologies are one of the fundamentals within white woman feminism, which is also the only area you will see her directly make a stance for. You can't be a victim in the sense of being an underdog within the industry, but also a billionaire who reheats beefs with artists smaller than you for the sake of writing material. You can't disguise your capitalistic contribution of popping out an album every 3 business days as Easter eggs, then have your fans do the artistic labor of making connections within your eras on your behalf. You can't disguise Arrested musical development as being in a different place in your life, but also somehow be a clever mastermind who has so much nuance and depth that none of us regulars could ever understand. Does that last example of logic sound familiar to anything that has transpired in recent news? Maybe an artist who toured with Taylor in recent years. We'll circle back to that. The people outside of these fandoms are somehow out-of-touch anti-feminists who wouldn't know fun if it greeted us by our government name in our bedroom, but somehow the orange walrus in office has been targeting Taylor every chance he gets, but her priority was shading 2 other women in the same industry as her. One of them who she threatened with a lawsuit despite her using interpolations up and down this record, but she's this woke feminist that is trailblazing her way for women around the world. You can't have it both ways while also demanding that 2 things can only exist at once when it comes to you. You can't piss on people and then tell them it's album of the year. One thing that was referenced multiple times on this album and previous was her relationship, which is really just an extension of her brand and manufactured identity, furthering her outreach with how it coincides and boosts her in many different ways. At least that's how it started out. She's now the poster child that white men can correct themselves and return to their roots. She aligns herself with trad wife beliefs hidden as dog whistles coded in literary devices, because being the contradictory girl boss is part of it. She distances herself from black culture and black people unless it's marketable. She's presumed innocent in the court of public opinion time and time again because anyone who attempts a cross is deemed biased against her and against all women in conclusion. But let's be clear. Coming after Taylor Swift is not taken in offense because it's her as an individual. It's because it's assumed that you're attacking white women as a whole and their ability to exist on main stage. It allows her the grace of escaping the birds of a feather flock together claim, despite her proving that she has no repulse when it comes to her Trump-supporting fiance, because she's simply just a quirky millennial who's one of us and loves her cats. This is not some oppressive mentality that is forced upon her by a commonplace white man with poor taste in barbers. Those two are engaged because they are meant to be engaged, because both of them agree to be engaged and desire to be engaged to each other. Still, you put this woman on a pedestal and label this album as a fall from grace instead of admitting that she has been ethically questionable for a hot minute now. She knows how to be in the midst of rooms / in collaboration with teams who can write well for what she's visualizing. They know how to bring her vision to life. But instead of acknowledging her for what she is, she's labeled one of the greatest artists of all time despite having similar careers as people who are deemed dated and flops. Because what if I said her and Katy Perry fit in the same category, to me, in parentheses? Had Katy Perry not taken a hiatus and made 2 more albums a couple years ago with more matured songwriting intensity as her debut, One of the Boys? What if I said that you could compare Witness and A Life of a Showgirl and say Witness is what Life of a Showgirl would be if the experimentation was rooted in artistic discovery and pursuit of authentic expansion? That, of course, is subjective, but I will leave that there for you to possibly marinate on. She heavily contributed in making it acceptable for being a white woman to be all you need to deserve a seat at the table, and was allotted a vast amount of wiggle room in a market that coincidentally grew to allow space for a male loneliness epidemic to even be looked at with an ounce of validity. And it's not that deep to now be an acceptable response to newly presented information instead of admitting that you're uneducated and don't have the depth. This is the type of world that allows Taylor Swift's name to even be mentioned in the same conversation as Beyonce, and people genuinely defending it. With that type of environment, it gave an opening for it not only to be her right to sit at a table amongst peers without ever having to show her work, but it allowed her to be the head of it. She is another vessel for sly red pill subliminal messaging, but in comparative standing to, say, the man she's about to share a last name with, she slides under the radar. Examples including the joy and obsession for her to be better and above / humbling a black woman who runs circles around her creatively, the attempt to silence the career of an up-and-coming teenage singer-songwriter simply because she was threatened by her, but it going ignored because nobody released a statement, making it imperative that she dominates every chart and wins every award and has the biggest tour simply by putting in more quantity than quality, so the claps on 1 and 3 are covered by pyros and glittery costumes. She's a Karen with good PR, and the metaphorical black person that is hindering her shopping experience by existing was Kanye, Scooter, and every female artist that she feels threatened by. The same society that allowed a man with 0 credentials and qualifications to occupy the highest seat in the land is the same society that allowed 1989 to win over To Pimp a Butterfly. Yes, again, this is indeed the America you have always known. You value the outreach of the inadequate for what you gain by its growth. The logic applied is quite similar in something about the comments of Swifties suddenly gaining class consciousness that their fave is not the same woke literary queen, and rebuking this album gives the same energy as people regretting who they voted for to me, and showcases an overall lack of discernment. You were conditioned to cover your ears to anyone who opposed your opinion and write them off as contrarian woman haters. Your fave has been feeding the idea for years, mind you, that those who do not like her simply do not stand with women as a whole and don't want to see women win, creating a language of absolutes that boxes in those who choose to engage with her and view everyone else outside of the club as clouded. And it was shocking to you that she aligns herself with Trump supporters. It is that lack of discernment that will have you missing the irony of the artist she chose to tour with completely detaching herself from her earlier R&B influenced music and moodier aesthetics to now becoming the eerily same tousled curls, bangs, and signature makeup look with a newfound country twang and style pop girly as debut Taylor. And don't forget an appearance with the same Shania Twain that is one of their shared influences. This being the same artist that was under Taylor's wing and coincidentally preached the very similar sermon to us outsiders that we simply didn't get the album cover because we're choosing to hate and turn our noses up at the thought of women having fun and are just a bunch of uptight prudes, but her real fans understand. Taylor doesn't appear to be daring or willing to expand in any way that doesn't guarantee a dollar sign is attached or a boost in validation. Hence her starting out in country because she was looking for the easiest route with the least amount of effort. Being a blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl next door with a country accent despite her being from Pennsylvania. Yet a black woman who was from a large-scale red state like Texas wasn't country enough. Right. It was only until pop music stopped being dominated by black culture and shifted more into the bubblegum electric pop era of the 2010s, and social media allowed her to give a visual to the identity and brand that she would make for herself, is when she switched genres, because the music did not and has not ever preceded her. With teen dramas and the emo misunderstood tween niche being all the rage at the time, she morphed herself into the right size puzzle piece. The weird girl who's just doing her best, but is just so different than everyone else. / the all-American princess who gets wronged by the guys because she's just her and can't compare to the others. In other words, a victim aesthetic to match the brand identity. Being a white woman allows her brand longevity, but submerging herself into the victim trope allowed her to expand without any critique or question. The plan was made before she entered the industry. Kanye just gave her the gateway to ensure her invincibility and the public to never question her genre bending. Since stan culture is so intertwined with people's sense of self, especially now, if y'all admit that Taylor Swift is just a mediocre white girl who has some radio hits, you'll also have to admit that the Sophia Richie dance was just a simple two-step. The Sophia Richie bushy bun is a slick back hairstyle created by black people that y'all swore was ghetto a few years ago, along with hoop earrings and gold jewelry. Or the fact that Sophia Richie is black in general, along with a myriad of other things. Taylor Swift allows her fans to be in a world where no one else exists except white women, and there's no culture except being a white woman. But this era started to show the wizard behind the curtain for those who were not already privy. She messed up because she tried to play up her infantilization, but she's in fact 35. Infantilization is the niche for Sabrina, where victimhood is for Taylor. Yes, infantilization is under the umbrella of victimhood, but one thing that infantilization requires is innocence as a visual when it comes to attraction, as well as a combination of other factors. Taylor lost that when she left country and started straightening her hair, talking about being a girl boss, wearing red lipstick, and suddenly lost her accent. That is how she got so many noses to turn up when she announced this current era. Her brand was able to flourish because white women have historically co-opted sexual allure from black women and distorted it. However, Taylor has never tried to be sexual, sexy, alluring, etc., and white women aren't meant to be sexy, aka show effort into doing so, because white women are associated with beauty by default. But now she came in too hot and too close to the black sun and started using interpolations and samples of black artists without ever coaching her audience into understanding diversity within her music, because there hasn't ever been any. Her fans flourish in the white world she has fostered. Endless White Woman Autumn, where her music technically stopped after Folklore and Evermore, and they don't have to feel the need to walk on eggshells or be woke as a listener, because it's about self and their experience that matches Taylor's, and they're the main character. One of the issues under that scope was the emphasis on Travis's extremities. That's a more specific example, but really their relationship as a whole, and it's referencing being a manifestation of her own personal jealousy and envy. This album in part was a statement that that's her man, and he's different because she's different now, but he's only different now because she's so different. But her fans appreciate Travis Kelce as a trophy that Taylor won over a black woman, not because they actually care about that man, nor about having him for themselves if they were willing to choose prior to her meeting him. But you can't have it both ways when you don't directly play into the patriarchy until you meet your fiance. Now you're a housewife in training who's discovered grown-up themes for the first time at the ripe age of 35, and it's awkward, and not in the relatable millennial way that you've taken up. It's awkward because ageism escapes no woman, and if you play into the patriarchy and submerge yourself deeper and deeper into the territory willingly, you have to be sexy enough to warrant your behavior. That then prompts the exclaims from Swifties that this isn't Taylor, this isn't the Taylor that I know. But it is. You just believed her willingness to do anything meant that she was artistically versatile, when really it just meant that she was able to be fluid for the sake of popularity and recognition. Santa is not real, and she's not who you made her out to be. Everything happens to her, but she's also the author of everything. She's all-knowing and deeply clever, but also just a girl. She now has sexual desires because the man she loves unlocked that inside of her by his magic redwood wand. She now knows her worth because nobody wanted to see her win and people try to silence her. Her discovery and growth are linked to her victimhood, and instead of questioning why that resonates so deeply with a lot of y'all, you claim that she's the best songwriter of our generation and others just don't want to like her. Some of you were even splitting your devotion unconsciously and have been for a while now, and that is not by coincidence. Hence the Sabrina to Jack Antonoff to 80 Synth with Country Elements pipeline. If you're curious of what this album would have looked like on Taylor if it made sense and her sexual attraction was deemed higher in the public eye to warrant boldness in the midst of her prime and afterwards, look to Sabrina post Feather virality. After Emails I Can't Send, things had a major shift and they have started to unfortunately share more and more similarities. And that's coming from someone who enjoyed her music. Yes, in the midst of Disney growing up, but her individual music, aka the singular acts. But that type of influence of the Taylor Swift machine is what leads you to be walked like a dog on an album cover in a political climate that has repealed basic freedoms for all, especially women, then months later be posted up with signage stating protect trans rights during an award show performance. Or releasing another album in just a little over a year that really just sounds like an extra deluxe version of the one you just put out. And your fans defending your right to do so because you are now an extension of Mother Taylor and your career growth is part of her vengeance. In that same vein, the apolitical nature of Taylor Swift becomes less and less digestible as our society grows more and more disdain for neutrality. When it became a necessity to start asking people who they voted for before even considering building a connection with said person was when the clock started ticking on Miss Houdini. What I don't think is being realized is that you all started building a new Taylor Swift in Sabrina as soon as you were hypnotized by her tongue-in-cheek humor, nonsense outros, and desirable look. It's heard in the language like, well, yeah, but that covers just Sabrina being Sabrina. But we're in the year 2025, and when these women decide to build their brand off of marketability and prioritize that over art, it takes their fans out of the world when they cause an earthquake by trying to make a choice that is subjective to what they actually want and enjoy personally. Because at the end of the day, they are still women, and the double standard discriminates for no blonde. Y'all don't like the album because the majority of you don't actually like/enjoy Taylor Swift. But this album is indeed herself on full display, lazy lyrics and all. She let the mask drop because she doesn't care and never has, and now she doesn't have to fake it because y'all made her a billionaire and solidified her averageness into platinum. Because if Taylor Swift was anyone else, y'all would have left her off the internet by now. This is partly fueled because the masses that follow her have confused the word good with relatable. Taylor Swift is not an objectively good songwriter or artist. She is a relatable songwriter to the demographic she caters to. It is not a means of everyone is just a hater and doesn't get it. It's recognizing that she doesn't occupy the depth to translate anything beyond her chosen brand identity. The captivating visuals that you all cling to are inflated imagery that isn't tethered to anything, causing the 2 albums that are claimed to be able to justify why she hasn't put out anything of substance since to be her reference point for those who defend her. 1989 wasn't a result of wanting to push her personal creative limits and expand her craft and interests. It was a mouse tool for the ends to justify the means. Just because she colors in Crayola doesn't make the art any more saturated or rich. It just means that she utilized a tool that you're accustomed to and is easily placed. She knows logistics, technicalities, and mechanics. She knows formulaic approach. That's not a good songwriter, that's a businesswoman who knows how to network. If art was her priority, you would hear the proof of sonic and melodic research within her records. But instead, this is her 12th studio album. She's using the phrases stigmatized and I have been afflicted by my terminal uniqueness, and then only giving a writing credit to George Michael when one of the many outsourcings that she did on this album can be credited to the Jackson 5. And now it's 2025, and somehow Taylor Swift is the standard, cemented into the cultural zeitgeist without actually ever having to show her work. Now, is she the origin for making adequacy normalcy? No. But it does feel like other artists have become collateral to the Taylor Swift machine, liked or disliked. It's only becoming more and more sour as the albums are dished out too. The bodies of leisure have been growing more and more egregious and self-serving, but respectfully, y'all were too focused on what Taylor Swift does for you and living vicariously through her than being able to recognize that. Just because you have the ability to release another album doesn't mean that you should, but not inserting herself into the forefront of conversations as a figurehead or an artist is again a conflict of her brand. She has the right to oversaturate the market with synthetic materials because she's Taylor Swift. But capitalizing off of the fact that you can just make money by your name is greedy and artistically bankrupt. You're a billionaire and still chasing streams and awards because you think that's what classifies a true artist or an artist at all. Again, it's not a matter of everyone being a hater and not getting it. It's the simple fact that this woman has not had consistent improvement or an uphill improvement at all, nor was ever actually in the business of artistic growth and just came in strumming a genre-swaying guitar to whoever would give her the most as she gave her least. The music has been sounding like this. But if you cultivate a world where your fans don't have to acknowledge anyone or really anything outside of being a white woman, the observations of others land flat time and time again. That goes beyond the music and it shows. She has nothing fresh to say and nothing new to add and hasn't for a while now. And that was okay for her to ride off into the conservative sunset and just be happy and married. But instead, she attacks/attempts to silence those who are elevating above her for the simple fact that they are growing in an area that she does not have the depth for, nor actually cares to put the effort in to grow in that area. Because if you remove her ability to write about being a victim, 75% of her source material would vanish. That is not an artist. That is not the greatest songwriter of our generation. That is not an icon, and that is not a legend. That just makes her the white woman version of Drake.
Is violent chess. That is gladiators without swords. That is dangerous.
Taylor Swift talking about how dangerous Travis Kelce's job is, while ICE is literally being deployed to cities, ripping people illegally from their homes. People are missing is just about as tone deaf and disgusting as you can imagine.
So how did we go from Taylor Swift made a bad album to Taylor Swift hates black women to Taylor Swift is a Trump supporter to Taylor Swift hates Travis Kelce's ex-girlfriend? You're allowed to not like an album, you're allowed to criticize an album, but the way y'all are reaching with these like analysis with Opalite, like with Canceled, like it's just like, dude, calm down. Like, and y'all won't say it, so I will, but y'all use Taylor Swift as an scapegoat to hate on women. It is literally just a history. Y'all do this every time that she releases an album, every single time. But this one is so dragged out because y'all are saying that she's racist because she doesn't like to see black women shine and stuff. She hates that Travis Kelce dated black women. She and Megan Thee Stallion, and y'all are reaching. Like, y'all are actually fucking reaching, and it's not even healthy at this point. This amount of hate is not healthy. Say you didn't like the album and move on. It's okay. Because I just feel like everyone is just so easy for everyone to just, boom, point all their hatred towards Taylor Swift. But y'all don't actually give a fuck about the stuff that y'all claim to hate her about. Y'all don't care.
What you're going through in life is going to affect whether you can relate to the music I'm putting out at any given moment. So right now, if you're not getting a good down by like a really well hung man, you probably won't relate to my new album. The rule of show business, since you guys aren't in show business and don't know what it is if it's the first week of my album release and you are either saying my name or my album title, you are helping. I actually didn't care if you hated it. I wanted you to hate it. You don't understand show business. That's what I wanted. And art, I have a lot of respect for people's subjective opinions on art. I'm not the art police. Like, everyone is allowed to feel exactly how they want to feel. And the goal for us as entertainers is to be like a mirror. And oftentimes an album is a really, really wild way to look at yourself, right? Like, I'm gonna mansplain what an album is now. What you're going through in life is going to affect whether you can relate to the music I'm putting out at any given moment. So right now, if you're not getting a good down by like a really well hung man, you probably won't relate to my new album. And what I often love seeing my fans say is, like, they didn't used to be someone who related to Reputation, and now they've been through some stuff in their life and it's their favorite album. Or, you know, they used to be like a Fearless girly and now they're obsessed with Evermore. So again, mansplaining it, it's gonna depend on what you're going through in your life. If you're not engaged to a well-hung football player who he and I collectively have millions of dollars, you're not gonna get it. And like, we're doing this thing for keeps, right? When I am making my music, I have my eye on my legacy. And my legacy right now is about getting it on in the bedroom. And that's what I'm gonna sing about and write about. I know what I made, and I know I adore it. And I know I adore Travis's Wood, and that's all that's on my mind. So besides that, and you know, some high school drama stuff, that's my life. That and yachts and private jets. And I know that's on theme of what like the showgirl is, and all of this is part of that. So that's my new album. I'm not the art police.
If you're one of the people that are saying that my album is trash garbage right now, thank you. Because you're helping me. And it's the life of the show girl, baby. So it's bad on purpose. And you might not understand that yet. You might not be in the headspace to comprehend this project. But you might get there one day.
So I just watched Taylor's interview on Jimmy Fallon, The Tonight Show, and I really don't like that I'm coming out of it paranoid about something that I've done a really good job not getting paranoid about. So there have been a lot of theories floating around related to exit signs and the usage of exit signs in the life of a showgirl so far, and I'd give really no clout to them. And like, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't immediately a little bit curious about, like, I opened my CD and right there, boom, exit sign immediately. And I was just like, you know what? No. Exit signs, they're a normal thing, whatever, who cares? And even watching the Fate of Ophelia music video, like, sure, over here we have 12 orange stars and then a green exit sign for like the green and orange of the album, but no, I'm not gonna read into that. And at the end, there's an exit sign at the end of the hall where she's coming from. But again, I'm not gonna read into that. Exit signs are normal, and like, yeah, sure, these sets were built. It's not like they're filming in a real hallway. These sets were built, but sure, no, it's normal. Why is that there? Why, like, they set this scene up specifically for Taylor. Everything in it is orange. Everything. And it's not like, it was mostly just like vases, and then there's the little radio, there was a statue. It's all just orange stuff. And then behind Taylor and behind Jimmy, one on each side, there were 2 exit signs. So 2 exit signs in the background of Jimmy Fallon, 2 exit signs in the Fate of Ophelia music video, 2 exit signs right when you open your CD and that poster is staring back at you. Like, I really haven't wanted to believe that it could even potentially mean something, but those exit signs in the background of Jimmy Fallon, like, that is just such an intentional thing. They are there as decoration. Like, I genuinely just cannot fathom a reason for the exit signs to be there. I cannot think of a purpose that they would serve if they don't mean something more than just being exit signs. And I don't believe it has anything to do with her, like, exiting music, because she literally just said that it's a wildly offensive question to assume that she's gonna stop making music because she's getting married. So, like, I don't think that's it at all, but these exit signs, I genuinely am kind of on board that they mean something now. And it's like, I'm not going to go as far as to say that I'm on board for like the double album theories that have been floating around since the album was announced. I'm like, there'll be the life of the showgirl and then the death of a showgirl or whatever, stuff like that. But I'm definitely like, my interest is piqued by these exit signs and there being 2 of them in the places that they are popping up, because why? Like, I really wasn't intrigued by it, because I was like, exit signs exist in the world. What is she going to do? Edit them out of her filming in places that have mandated exit signs above the doors? Whatever. And then like for the edit in the CD, I was like, maybe it just looked cool. And like, because there was random pieces in the chunks for the whole album. Like, it's random pieces from the pictures that are put into those shards. But the Fallon thing, it's really messing with me, because that is so incredibly intentional. So like, why? What is the intention?
The worst thing Taylor Swift did was to support this particular government. And it's one of the worst things, or it's one of the things that have been affecting her brands, to be honest. She put out her trash out there and people are talking about it, and all she could come out and say is she likes the way people are actually talking about it, and people will not understand what she did, that she did what she did for a reason, and you will not understand it until you get there. There is nothing you can tell us, girl. You failed on this, Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift has just disappointed her fans. Honestly, I also listened to her album and I'm like, what's happening? Is she going through a lot? In her album spews so much hatred for Black people and a lot of things in between. I want to hear, what's your own thoughts about this, her response? Let me see it in the comments, and do not forget, credits to everybody in that videos, right? Follow, subscribe, like, and share. I'll be back next time. It's me, Blessing on Global Gist with BJ. Bye.